Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mike Kollin at crackedfemalcode.com. Okay, so I want to give you a little bit of my, what I'm trained in. So I did study psychology in college, and I'm also a certified NLP trainer, certified master Ericksonian hypnotherapist, certified master practitioner of timeline therapy. And I'm certified in something called HNLP, Humanistic Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or Psychology. John Overdorf developed this. He is an NLP master trainer. And he's one of the greats when it comes to languaging, communication, and not only NLP, but teaching NLP. And I'm also trained in Reiki, Huna, pranic healing, and I've trained with Buddhist monks for years, off and on just energy healing, mostly healing, consciousness, etc. Okay, so sorry, my voice is a little bit off today. So the reason why I'm sharing all this stuff is because there's something that stood out to me about, it was a long time ago. I think I was probably 21, 22 years old when I started to see it. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. So because I was studying neuro-linguistic programming at that time, there's something that they teach you, and I think they even verbally pointed out to you is that there's programs. Well, it's in the name NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. There's essentially programs or patterns that we have. So if you can shift or change or add to or take away from someone's program or the pattern that they just keep rerunning over and over and over, you can change their life. Because usually you have some kind of program or pattern, probably a multitude of them, in other words, more than one, that are keeping you from getting what you want in life. And another way of saying that is these are strategies. So I'm a neuro-linguistic programmer, which means we are trained to be able to see those, to look for them, to ask questions, to poke and probe and prod, to purposely bring up your unconscious strategies that you're using. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, if you are not getting what you want out of life, it's because you have one or more strategies that are keeping you from getting that. And these strategies are 99% of the time completely unconscious. Now, here's the deal. That big word, unconscious, it doesn't mean it's that complicated. Now, okay, studying NLP in the beginning is complicated. It will take you a good 2, 3, 4 years of really putting your heart and soul into it to begin to really grasp the power of it, okay? And yet at the same time, you can complete a practitioner course and you can immediately begin to use techniques that they teach you with great effectiveness. Now, to get to the level where you can actually look for patterns and strategies that people are using unconsciously, it does take a level of awareness in developing that. So there's some parts of NLP, for someone like me who does therapy with people, it does take a bit of effort and time and commitment to begin to see them, to pull them out. So at the point where I'm at now, that is really easy, but that's not really what the message is. It's leading up to the message. Now here's the message is, I can see patterns everywhere, and what that allows me to do is it allows me to simplify things for me, which I then later on, once I master, transfer on to you. So because of at this point in my life, I went back to college. I was studying psychology. I'd already been to 2 major Tony Robbins seminars. I'd read his books, done his home study program, and I had also completed, I believe it was my NLP master, so my practitioner and master practitioner, and I'd completed both the home study programs twice, read a number of books, maybe a dozen books of NLP at this time, etc., etc. So I was really beginning to see the pattern. So here was an effect I had. One of the things I began to notice was, I'm not going to go too depth because this will really steer it off course. I'm going to give you the shortened version. I started to begin to understand internal energy versus external energy, and I started seeing it like we were studying the mitochondria. I just forgot the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle, where food breaks down from proteins to complex carbs to simple carbs, all the way down to, I think it was glycogen was like the base where everything breaks down. So oxygen and glycogen feed your muscles, and this is the breakdown of fats and proteins and complex carbs, etc., etc. So I'm not going to go into the details because this would be a 2-hour long video. But essentially, one day I'm walking across campus. It was probably about, I'm assuming about 4 p.m. or so. It was just before dinner time, and I noticed the one of the big, not one, but about 2, 3, 4 of these big trees, big bushy leafy trees. I mean tall. These were like probably 30 feet tall trees, 25 foot tall trees. All of a sudden they released, I'm going to say sperm, but they released their pollen to pollinate each other. And in that moment, I started to see something they were teaching us in the Krebs cycle, in mitochondria, etc., etc. I thought, wow, there's just like this cycle is everywhere. Or I should say this pattern. And I began to see it everywhere. So, okay, now I think it was the next day or maybe a week later. I was in one of my classes was weightlifting, so PE, and the guy that was the PE teacher or whatever, he didn't really teach us. He just you sign in and he would hang out. But he was my former football coach. He was the defensive coordinator for our high school football team, and this guy was a genius. Now we were section champions that year. We won everything that year, and this guy was on, I think it was University of Colorado, or he was invited to be their head, no, I think he was their head defensive coordinator there for a while, and then he was invited up to an NFL team, and there was some kind of dispute in the contract. I forget what it was, but we got lucky. We got him at our school for 2 years before he moved on. His name is Coach McGrath, and beyond a shadow of a doubt, this guy was a defensive genius. If it wasn't for him, we probably wouldn't have won the section championship. Once we got him as a coach, we knew, like, yeah, we're going to go all the way. Our defense was it was unstoppable. You couldn't get through those guys. So it was a rainy day. I wasn't really in the mood to lift weights, so the coach started bullshitting, and we're talking about stuff. And now this is in college. This is after high school. So it just happened to be I went to the college where he just happened to, he just went there to have a job in between jobs, etc. And so what happened was he started talking about a game. He goes, "Do you remember that game we played against, I think, what was it, not De La Salle, it was, maybe it was Christian Brothers. It was either Christian Brothers or this other team, I can't think of the name right now, St. Mary's, I think. I think it was St. Mary's." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you remember that play where so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that?" I'm like, "What about it?" And he goes, "Well, now their offense was on the field, our defense was on the field." I'm like, "Okay, what about it?" He goes, "When that quarterback did his 5-step drop back and then the guard pulled, then," he goes, "their coach did a genius thing, because what he did is he had the center do this and they had the left defensive tackle do this, and the only reason why they could get away with that is because their tight end did an out." And I'm looking at him, I'm like, "Wait a minute, how do you know all that?" He goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I go, "Oh, you mean you reviewed the film afterward and you saw it?" He goes, "No," he goes, "I don't review that film. That was our playoff game." I go, he goes, "We were never going to play them again." I'm like, "So what are you talking about?" He goes, I go, "You saw all of that at the snap of the football?" I go, "That's impossible." And he goes, No. He goes, "Michael, I didn't see all of it." He goes, "I knew if the quarterback did a 3 or 5 step this and they were lined up in this formation, and he based it on the tight end's movement. If the tight end does this, that means the offensive guard has to do this or that. Otherwise, they're going to break the rules and blah blah." So he's breaking all this down. This was over my head. I'm going to be real honest with you, but I was trying to think, like, how the hell could you fucking see all those guys move? There's no possible way. So he looks at me, he goes, "Michael," he goes, "I don't think you understand." He goes, "Based by all the rules, once you line up, depending on how you line up in formation, you're, okay, how did he say this, man? I'm stumbling this." He goes, "Depending on how this guy moves or this guy moves, the offensive line is only allowed to do so many things. So once they hike the ball and they make the movement based on the rules, based on the formation that you're in," he goes, "if this guy does this, that means this guy and this guy are only allowed to do this, this, or that." He goes, "Because this guy did this, I knew that this guy had to do that. And because he did that, I knew that this guy on the left side had to do that." He goes, "I didn't see them do it, but I knew they did that based on the rules and the game and the formation." I was like, okay. So then he brought something up. Now, I was a young man, and I've always been a very spiritual person or conscious person. I we started talking about, now I'm looking at this guy, he knows that I am not at his level, and now I was an offensive player, and he knows I wasn't a defensive player, and he's talking about all this stuff, and I'm kind of looking at him like, why is he sharing this with me? I knew there was something that I was going to learn here. So he looks at me, he goes, Mike, haven't you noticed in life that there's patterns to everything you do? Now, I was still a pretty young man, and I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, Mike, all right, anything you do in life, if you go far enough in it, if you study it enough, you're going to start seeing the patterns. Now, here's the point of this whole segment right here. And this is what my course does for you that none of the other courses do for you. He said, if you can start seeing the patterns, everything becomes simple. He said, haven't you noticed in math? He goes, how far have you gone in math? And at that point, I think I'd gone to Algebra 2. He goes, well, didn't you start noticing that you were doing the same things in Algebra 2 that you were in Algebra 1, and that this carries over to that, and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, what starts to happen, the farther you go in any endeavor, you start to see the patterns. So instead of it being just this complicated, confusing mess of different kinds of details and information, he goes, you start to see the patterns, and that's what makes it really simple. And then he went, I think he talked about science, and I think he even talked about the Krebs cycle. I forget, he brought up something in math, then he brought something in science, and I believe it was the Krebs cycle, but he was and we happened to be studying it that week or the week before, like we had been on this 2-week thing in class. And then he brought it back to football. So he says, no, I didn't see all those people move. I think it was like 7 players in that game on that one play. He goes, it would have been impossible for me to see everyone and what they physically did. He goes, but I know based on the rules, if they're lined up like this, number one, and number two, if the tight end is, that was it. If the tight end is lined up off the ball or on the ball or something like that, he goes, if he does this and then this offensive lineman does that, that means that this guy must do this and this guy is only allowed to do this based on the rules, and the other guy has to do this, otherwise they're going to get defensive end come in and he's going to sack the quarterback. He goes, so I know absolutely in order to make that play work, all these players have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. He goes, it simplifies everything. Now, this guy was a master coach. This was not some guy who just kind of hung out and did it for fun. This guy had the game dialed in. When he came to our team, it was a big deal. We were lucky to get this guy. It was only because our head coach happened to know him. I think they went to college and they played college ball together, if I remember right. I forget what it was, but they knew each other somehow. So we got really lucky. The guy was in between gigs, so he came to us. So we got really lucky. So my point being is, this is what I do in my course for you. Alright, we're looking at a pattern right here that I actually teach in my course, and this pattern applies to everything. I mean the pattern in the image. This is internal and external energy, okay? I will break this down so clearly that you're like, so wait a minute, yep, this is all we're doing. We're doing internal energy, and we're creating this flow mechanism, and it becomes, and see, what happens is, okay, I'm going to tell you what triggered this video. There's another guy who has hundreds of thousands of followers, and he's throwing out all these details and all these different scenarios, and it's like, oh my God, it's so complicated. And as I'm listening to this guy, I'm like, he's essentially saying this one thing over and over in 1,000 different ways. And without realizing it, he doesn't see the pattern. He doesn't even know that there is a pattern. I'm looking at this guy like, you could literally teach this in one way and then show the guy, say, see, she does this in every single thing. Here, 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 and here. There's only so many patterns. So when you come into the course, you're going to be like, man, this is a lot of information. But what I'm going to continue to tell you is, like, don't worry about memorizing anything. Just listen to understand. Just if you understand what I'm saying, that's all you need to do. Now, here's what I will tell my clients at the first day. I'm like, look, all I want you to do is act like you're on a cruise ship. You're sitting back on a beach, not a beach, but one of those layback chairs. I can't think of what the name it's called. I'm going to put a fluffy towel down. We drive the ship, we cook the food, we deliver the food and the drinks to you. We even deliver the chairs and I cannot remember, what's the thing you lay back on? Damn, can't remember. We even provide you with the fluffy towels. We even put the fluffy towel on the layback thing. So you don't do nothing. Your job is just to listen and enjoy the ride. That's it. That's all you have to do. And towards the very end, I'm going to put all of these pieces together and say, see, there it is right there. There it is right there. All we're doing is we're going to do these basic patterns in a couple different ways. Generally, when you walk away from my course, you're generally going to have a core set of about 7 patterns. You do these 7 patterns, she's going to be fucking turned on like you cannot fucking imagine. She's going to fall in love with you. She's going to reach out and touch you. She's going to grab you. Everything becomes simplified. Alright, so this guy in this video, and let me see how many minutes I am on him. I'm like 10, 11 minutes in, and he's repeated the same thing. And here's the thing, he doesn't know where it comes from. Now again, I like what he's saying, and he is correct, but the problem is, it's like, man, I'm looking at all this information and all these videos, like, dude, this is just so complicated. It comes from one thing. So he says, look, you don't want to be texting her, you want her to text you. You don't want to be, liking her social media posts and stuff like that. She's got to be chasing you because she's saying, look, I'm the smaller person. You're like taller than me and bigger than me. Shouldn't I be trying to win you over? Now, there is truth to that, but it doesn't really give you the real answer. So then he goes on to these other things. So from her perspective, she should be doing that. Why are you doing that? So you're lowering your value in her eyes. And it's just, and I'm looking at this guy like, yeah, but if you just tell him what causes this, then it simplifies everything. And I'm going to give it to you right now. Enter Captain Caveman. This is an image I actually had to pay for to have the rights to use. So if you look at this guy, take a look at his focus. Look at what he's doing. He's looking in a direction. Now, the reason why I show this image a lot to guys is because if you can get this image locked in and then take the teachings of my course, everything can become simple. It's like, well, yeah, of course that's why you're going to do that, because this is the way it was. This is the way. See, okay, here's the thing you got to understand. Our mating systems are in our lower reptilian brain. That lower brain is the fight or flight instinctual brain. Its number one job is to keep you alive. Okay, so let's say you're about to step off a curb and boom, something pulls you back and boom, a bus goes right in front and misses your face by 2 feet. And you're like, holy shit, like who pulled me back? That was your unconscious mind. Technically, that was your reptilian brain. Its number one job is to keep you alive. Its number 2 job is mating, having sex and creating babies to keep the human species alive, to keep us going. Now here's the interesting thing. Even though the logical left and the right brain are more intelligent and have better processors, the low reptilian brain, those 2 functions, it has superiority over the left and right brain. When it comes down to keeping you alive, it will take over and take charge regardless of how logical you are. When it comes to making sure that you procreate and recreate, it will override all of your other systems. Its number 1 and number 2 priorities take precedence. So these are what we call unconscious hardwired strategies. The other strategies we can change. These ones are hardwired. You are designed to mate. She is designed to mate. Now her mating system in low reptilian brain, it also has priorities to mate with certain men. And you think, no, yeah, with big bank accounts and Ferraris. Dude, okay, I forgot to tell this part. Or maybe, I think I actually did. Our reptilian brain, which includes our mating systems and our fight and flight system, was designed in the caveman era. It has not changed. So she's going to get turned on by the things that that functioned well for her to keep her alive so she could procreate and to be able to provide food and protection for the children. You might think, so you got to be a big muscular guy. No, that's the weirdest thing in the world. It is not that. Believe it or not, it's social skills. It's being internal. The right brain is the internal brain. The problem is the modern male has completely disconnected from the right brain. Very, very rarely do you find any male on any level using the right brain now that we have taxes, money, machines, turbos, cars, especially now that we have computers. Men don't need to hunt and kill anymore. We just need to have money to go to the grocery store to feed ourselves. Now, I want to make sure of something. Did I mention that our mating system is in the lower reptilian brain, the smallest part of our brain? It's not logical. Our mating system is in the reptilian brain, the fight or flight, the instinctual brain, okay? I didn't say it was in the logical brain because it's not. And her mating system connects to her right brain's emotional processor. Another way of saying that is the five senses processor. See, hear, feel, smell, and taste. Her mating system is connected to that system. That's why certain foods like chocolate, okay, if you don't know this, if you give women chocolate, like real chocolate, they literally get wet sexually down there. It turns them on sexually. Now, when you eat chocolate, do you get wet down there? Do you have an orgasm? No. Because your mating system is not connected to your right brain's five senses. See, hear, feel, smell, and taste processor. So if you think sex or relationships is a logical experience, boy, would you be completely, absolutely wrong. It's about right brain processing. See, hear, feel, smell, and taste. You have to learn how to communicate, express yourself, and do your body language from the right brain, which I will teach you how to do in the course. So for a woman, it's about emotions and mating system. The mating system is connected to her emotional system. If you think logic has anything to do with those systems, you would be absolutely, completely, totally wrong. This is why women are into the higher levels of foods and restaurants and stuff. It's because, okay, for example, a cheap wine probably won't turn her on, but a really good wine that has a really velvety flavor and really even the smell, the perfume smell, can really get a woman going romantically. Now, what do I mean? Because it's pulling her into her right brain. Chocolate, the smell of foods, certain melodies and sounds. It's all about the five senses. So now, once she gets there, you need to do the right brain body language and the internal language, which I teach in my course. Now, here's the deal. One of the things I do with a woman or young lady that I meet and we start dating, I don't do it maybe right away. Once we feel very comfortable, we're gaining rapport, I'll literally I'll stand up like a caveman and I'll look her in the eyes, I make this caveman-like face, and I literally will sniff next to her neck and her hair and her ear, and that drives them freaking crazy. Why? Because it's literally stimulating what the caveman used to do back in the caveman era. All those hard wirings are still there. And then what I'll do, I'll look at her and I'll point to me. I'll point at my chest, me caveman. And I point to her chest, you, cave girl. And it freaking drives them freaking nuts. This is one of the first things I'll do early on in the first couple dates, maybe even the first date if we have, comfort level, etc. Here's the thing, it will really shift the dynamic of the dating or relationship. She will go from I'm dating a guy to, oh my god, this is really turning me on. It puts her in her feminine role, and she's experiencing this caveman-like masculinity, and you're just goofing around. It's playful. It's obvious I'm being playful. She'll even laugh and be giddy, but at the same time, her body is taking over, and that's the goal. So the idea of talking to her logically or telling her, well, this is the way it should be, or like right now, is that turning you on? Well, I bought you 10 dinners, or I spent this much money on dinner tonight and drinks. You owe me sex. Like there's nothing sexual or romantic about that at all, dude. It's all about triggering and stimulating her mating system in the old caveman way. If you have a wife and your marriage is dead, this and things like this will bring back the fire. See what it does, I'm not saying you're forcing her. No, by you doing this, you're not actually doing anything to her. It causes her to go into that caveman part of her brain, and it really turns a woman on. It allows her to be in a space where she can be completely playful, feminine, and sexual. If you've ever thought, God, women are so weird when it comes to dating, relationships, and sex, yeah, because at heart, she is still a little cave girl. So if you're trying to logically understand women and pay for dinner, like, I paid for dinner for 10 weeks, she won't even have sex with me, because that has nothing to do with having sex with you. That will not romance a woman for shit. Now here's the deal. We do live in the modern era, and this is why, and here's the thing, technically you guys are right. This doesn't make any sense, but Mike, I make $1 million a month. Every year I clear $12 million. We live in a $6.7 million home. I don't understand. Well, it has nothing to do with it. See, that's the thing, that's the part that you're not getting, because her mating system is not wired to logic. Now here's the funny thing, by being a logical guy, she thinks that you're a poor provider and she can't survive. So she's going to have to find someone else that can. And you're like, wait a minute, but Mike, I told you I made $1 million a month. I come from a wealthy family. My family's worth billions of dollars. But here's the thing. Back in the caveman era, when our mating system and lower reptilian brain were hardwired, including her right brain, that's another story I'll teach in another video. But the reason why the right brain's all about 5 senses is because what women had to do back then to survive and feed the family. So here she is with Mr. Modern Bloke with a logical brain on his fucking head, and he's being Mr. Logical, but her mating system, and remember the reptilian brain where the mating system is, its number one job is keeping her alive. Its number 2 job is to reproduce, but she has requirements. I gotta reproduce with a guy that can provide for us and protect us. So a guy who's worth millions of dollars, who's Mr. Logical, her mating system goes, oh, this guy's not going to survive in the jungle, man. So you got to understand, the caveman, he was a very right-brain being. He had to be able to be in peripheral vision and auditory peripheral and kinesthetic peripheral, which, by the way, I'll teach you how to do. He had to be internal. Internal just means being connected to your radar system. The modern male is completely disconnected to his radar system. A lion could sneak up behind him a mile away. He wouldn't even feel it. The lion could be literally 100 yards away. He wouldn't feel it. The lion could be 50 yards, 20 yards. He would not feel it. Because most men are tunnel vision. They're stuck in their logic. That is not your radar system. Your right brain is the radar system. That's what keeps you alive. But Mike, we live in the modern era. We have guns now, and we have this, and it doesn't matter. Her mating system is not wired for the modern system. And here's what I mean. Her mating system and reptilian brain, it doesn't see bank accounts. It doesn't, you could put dollar bills and $100 bills in her hands. It doesn't understand that at all. When it comes to mating system, right brain, that does not compute, does not compute, does not compute. Her mating system and her reptilian brain do not understand what a bank is. It doesn't understand bank accounts. It doesn't understand college. It doesn't understand anything that we do. It doesn't connect to triggering her mating system. It does not connect to melting her heart to fall in love with you. And this is where the modern male is completely lost. Now to you, that's what you value. But let me tell you okay, let's just be blunt honest. If I paid for a $250 dinner in Napa Valley, would you want to have sex with me? Would that sexually turn you on? Fuck no. Otherwise, men would be taking men out all the time. All they have to do is pay for an expensive dinner. It doesn't turn you on. And guess what? It doesn't turn her on either. Shocker. So if some guy bought you a $150,000 car, are you suddenly going to marry them and have sex with them for the rest of your life? No, you're not. Or at least I hope not. All right, let's say there's a woman that is not that. I don't like being mean, but okay, someone that's just unbelievably obese, is not good looking, her face full of zits, she's greasy, you have no attraction to her at all. Do you honestly think that if she has a high-paying job, has a $6.6 million home, that you're going to suddenly sexually fall in love and be head over heels and, oh my God, I can't wait to have sex? You're not, unless that's your type, which for some men, believe it or not, it is. So let's say this woman that you are not attracted to at all. I mean, it's like, damn, I wouldn't date that woman in a million years. Buys you an expensive piece of steak, say a $50 piece of steak on a $100 china plate with expensive silverware made of silver. Does that suddenly mean you're going to fall in love with her? Does that mean you're going to suddenly be magically turned on? No. That's the same thing men try to do to women. It has nothing to do with sex at all. If a woman is having sex with you because you're paying for things and buying her things, she's not attracted to you. She's attracted to your money. What happened to Jeff Bezos? That's right, she divorced him. How much money did he have to pay her? Right here, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, Mackenzie Scott, received approximately $38 billion in Amazon stock as a part of their divorce settlement. Billion. Please, right now, convince me that she was ever in love with him. She was not. She was in love with the money. It was a plan. If you have to buy dinner for a woman to have sex with you, she's not with you. She's not attracted to you. She's attracted to you paying for shit. You should be able to talk to a woman, be with a woman in a way she'll have sex with you without anything more than talking to her over a cup of coffee. Literally. And she paid for both your coffee and hers. Once you understand this desire, this need that women need to be fulfilled, this is what women are talking about. Well, we need this. We need our needs met. She'll pay for it. She'll pay for your dinner. She will call you and ask you out. She'll say, it's on me. She'll refuse to let you pay. There are a set series of patterns that are hardwired into her mating system. Logically teaching this to you will not work. I have to teach it to you in your right brain, which means during the course we have to open you up over and over until you're conditioned to access this part of your system, and then you can do these communication patterns, body language, emotional energy patterns, etc. Right now, buy my book, Cracked Female Code, to get started. That book is going to be an eye-opener. You want to convince her? Read that book. Alright guys, if you like this video, click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.